not be given. Those have a D next to them, and that means that those were removed from the list of exempted items. This period would be from June 25, 2024 to June 24, 2025. A 5% administrative charge of the value of the goods in respect of which customs duty exemption is granted applies, and the duty and tax loss is $1,164,236.80. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Island Harbor. Motion 2, 2024-512 HOA has been moved and seconded. I now invite debate on the merits and principles of this motion. Floor is open. Since there are no contributions, I invite the mover to respond, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And as I stated earlier, we understand the need to allow these duty and tax exemptions. It incentivizes the hospitality industry and the businesses to expand, to upgrade, and to stay in line with the product that Anguilla is known for, high-level tourism products. And so I appreciate that the members would be in agreement with approving these exemptions as the property continues to expand and provide the high level of hospitality that it is known for. And so I would encourage that we continue to support the hospitality industry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Member. Motion 2, 2024-512 HOA has been presented without amendment. Members, the question is that this motion be passed. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Motion 2, 2024-512 HOA has been passed without amendment and is now a resolution of the Assembly.
Motion 3 of 2024-5/12 HOA, Customs Duty and Tax Exemption. Motion 3 of 2024-5/12 HOA Regulations 2024, Anguilla Alumni /Suleika Fraser.
The member for Island Harbor is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to move motion 3/2024-512 HOA Regulations 2024, resolution made by the House of Assembly under Section 77, subsection 1 of the Customs Act, Revised Statutes of Anguilla, Chapter C-169, and Section 3 of the Excise Tax Amendment Act 2020 was proposed, seconded in the House of Assembly on the 10th day of December 2024. I'll ask to second after, Madam Speaker. Whereas a certificate of good standing that had not expired or been canceled was produced to the Minister of Finance in relation to the importers, be it resolved that under the powers contained in Section 77, subsection 1 of the Customs Act, Revised Statutes of Anguilla, Chapter 169, and Section 3 of the Excise Tax Amendment Act 2020, the House of Assembly exempts from customs duty and excise tax the goods imported into Anguilla specified in the Schedule 1. The following conditions apply in respect of all goods exempted by virtue of this resolution. A, the goods shall not, within 5 years of the date of importation, be sold, exchanged, given away, or applied to any use other than the use specified in the Schedule. B, on the expiry of 6 months from the date of importation and each successive 6-month period within the 5-year period after the date of importation, the importer shall certify to the Controller of Customs in a form acceptable to the Controller of Customs that he has complied with the conditions set out in paragraph A. C, upon demand made by a customs officer, the goods exempted under this resolution shall be produced or otherwise accounted for to the customs officer D, in accordance with the Customs Administrative Costs Recovery Act, Revised Statutes of Anguilla, Chapter 170, at the time of import, the importer shall pay the customs administrative charge at the rate specified in the schedule. 2, in accordance with Section 71 of the Customs Act, Revised Statutes of Anguilla, Chapter 169, the following apply in the event that a condition referred to in Section 1 of this resolution is contravened or not complied with. A, if any of the goods exempted under this resolution are sold, exchanged, given away, or applied to any use other than the use specified in the schedule within 5 years of the date of importation, 1, the importer shall pay the customs duty and excise tax on the value of such goods at the rate specified in the integrated customs tariff at the date of importation. 2, the importer and any person knowingly concerned in such sale, exchange, gift, or unsanctioned use is guilty of an offense and may be arrested and is liable to a fine of $20,000 or 3 times the customs duty excise tax relieved, whichever is the greater, or to imprisonment for a term of 2 years or to both. And 3, the goods in respect of which the exemption was granted are liable to forfeiture. B, if the importer fails to certify that he has not sold, exchanged, given away, or applied the goods to any use other than the use specified in the schedule, 1, the importer shall produce or account for the goods exempted under the resolution to the Controller of Customs. 2, any goods not produced or accounted for will be deemed to have been sold, exchanged, given away, or applied to some use other than the use specified in the schedule, and paragraph A, subsection 1 applied. And 3, if any goods not produced or accounted for are subsequently found, they are liable to forfeiture. C, if the importer fails to produce or account for the goods exempted under this resolution upon demand by a customs officer, 1, the importer and any person knowingly concerned in such failure are guilty of an offense, may be arrested and are liable to a fine of $20,000 or 3 times the value of the goods, whichever is the greater, or to imprisonment for a term of 2 years or to both. And 2, if any goods not produced or accounted for or subsequently found, they are liable to forfeiture. D, if the importer fails to pay the customs administrative fee at the rate specified in the schedule at the expiry of 30 days from the date of delivery of a demand for payment made by the Controller of Customs, or such longer period as may be designated by the Controller of Customs, 1, the importer shall pay the customs duty and the excise tax on the value of such goods at the rate specified in the integrated customs tariff at the date of importation. 2, the importer and any person knowingly concerned in such failure are guilty of an offense and may be arrested and are liable to a fine of $20,000 or 3 times the value of the goods, whichever is the greater, or to imprisonment for a term of 2 years or to both. And 3, the goods exempted under this resolution are liable to forfeiture.
Madam Speaker, I raise a second.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, this motion is to provide customs duty and tax exemption for Anguillan alumni under Ms. Zulika Fraser. And this is to set up an education office, and it would allow alumni of the universities to have a place where they can assemble, where they're supported, and they can provide consultancy services to college-bound students, to high school students who are interested in learning about universities and colleges, and also for those students who would be in college or those who've graduated as alumni of colleges, that they would have a place where they can go to get information, to provide mentoring and counseling. And certainly, I know that as an alum, I guess I'd say alumnus, the right Latin, of the University of the Virgin Islands, go Buccaneers, that this is a place that we do have several students who are part of the Alumni Association that would benefit from this and also from those who have attended other colleges and universities, whether here in Anguilla, in the region, in the UK, or the United States of America. I think this is a good service. It sets the right tone that education is the key to success, and to provide this counseling, mentoring office will be helpful as we continue on. The items for duty-free concessions and for tax exemptions are listed, and it essentially includes office supplies to set up this educational office. Some items which are consumables are not going to be included, and so these have been marked off on the list. And this extends from October 11, 2024 to January 10 of 2025. The list attached, a 5% administrative charge will be collected, and the due to loss at $3,944.04 is the due to loss that will be granted. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Motion 3, 2024-512 HOA, Customs Duty and Tax Exemption Regulations 2024, have been moved and seconded. Now I invite debate on the merits and principles of this motion. The Honorable Member for Valley South is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to rise to support this motion that the Honorable Premier has brought before this House for customs duty and tax exemptions to Zulika Fraser and the Anguilla Alumni Network, who have been doing quite remarkable work in Anguilla. I know specifically from the work that they've been doing with the Anguilla Robotics Association and the young men and women who have become quite excited about the opportunities in that space. But also as we push out and ensure that more persons have access to tertiary level opportunities in Anguilla through scholarships and with the future plans of this administration for the creation of a development wealth fund that will allow us to fund scholarships for our young people going forward into the future, that it is very important for our young people also to be equipped with the knowledge beforehand of what they want to do and what opportunities they want to seize. And so I'm very excited to see this particular initiative come to fruition, and I wish them all the best in the future as they advance. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Any other contributions to this motion? Since there are no other contributions, I invite the mover to respond, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Member, for your intervention. And certainly, we do know that Ms. Zulika Fraser does work with the Robotics Association, and I've had the pleasure of attending some of the camps and demonstrations, and this bodes well for Anguilla. I know that some have traveled overseas to represent Anguilla in robotics. And but certainly in terms of the Alumni Association, that is run by Ms. Fraser, the Anguillian alumni, and this is a good opportunity to have an office set up that persons can come to for that service. So I want to thank the members for understanding the importance of this as we move forward to improve and expand our mentoring of those who are future alumni and also those who are current alumni of universities and colleges. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Motion 3, 2024-512 HOA has been debated without amendment. Sorry, members, the question is that this motion be passed. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Motion 3, 2024-512 HOA has been passed without amendment and is now a resolution of the Assembly.
Motion 4 of 2024, 5/12 HOA, Financial Administration and Audit Remittance, and Audit Act Remittance, Charles Ronald Leroy Webster, Regulations 2024.
The honorable member for Island Harbor is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to move motion 4/2024-512 HOA and the Financial Administration Audit Act, remittance to Charles Ronald Leroy Webster, Regulations 2024. Be it resolved that under Section 16 of the Financial Administration and Audit Act, Revised Statutes of Anguilla, Chapter F 27, this House of Assembly approves the remittance Charles Ronald Leroy Webster, Regulations 2024, made by the Governor on the 27th day of November 2024.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second.
Thank you, Member, and thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to declare that there's no conflict, even with the same last name. Thank you. It gives me great pleasure, though, to stand and to present this regulations and this request. Madam Speaker, the Charles Ronald Leroy Webster is the son of the late James Ronald Webster, father of the nation, and he passed before he was able to finalize donating this land in question to his son. Given that the intention was that this would pass on, the wife of the late James Ronald Webster wanted to carry out her husband's wishes that his son would have this land. Given the time of the transfer, it would have required that this land now be charged the 5% stamp duty. However, the stamp duty had been reduced to 2.5% for everyone, but it's always been 1% charge for family members, fathers to children, mothers to children. So where there's family involved, the stamp duty has always been 1%. Because of the timing and the passing of the late father of the nation, before this transaction occurred, it would have been that the 2.5% would have been charged. Given the intent, we felt that it was necessary to allow for government to provide this remittance through the Financial Administration Audit Act to allow the 1% to be charged, given it's a father-to-son transaction that would not have occurred at the time officially, but the intent was there. And that is what this is to basically rectify, that Mr. Charles Ronald Leroy Webster pay the 1% for the land transaction rather than the 2.5%. So this has caused a reduction in payment to government of $14,919.51. Given that this would have, if this transaction had occurred during the lifetime of the late father of the nation, this would not even have applied. Government sees it, and Executive Council approved that this remittance occur. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I now invite debate on Motion 4, 2024-512 HOA. Floor is open for contribution. Since there are no contributions, I invite the mover to respond, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And certainly in the this season of giving, I appreciate that the members see it fit to understand the rationale for making this regulations in this motion. And thank you on behalf of Charles, Ronald, Leroy, Webster. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion 4, 2024-512 HOA has been presented without amendment. Members, the question is that this motion be passed. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Motion 4, 2024-512 HOA has been passed without amendment and is now a resolution of the Assembly.
Personal explanations, none. Other business, government business. A bill for Goods and Services Tax Amendment Act 2024, first reading.
The member for Island Harbor is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to move that a bill shortly entitled A Bill for Goods and Services Tax Amendment Act 2024 have its first reading.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill shortly entitled A Bill for Goods and Services Tax Amendment Act 2024 be read a first time. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. I call upon the clerk to read the bill a first time.
An act to amend the Goods and Services Tax Act, revised statutes of Anguilla, Chapter G, 12th.
Bill read a first time.
A bill for Inland Revenue Department Amendment Act 2024, first reading.
The member is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that a bill shortly entitled A Bill for Inland Revenue Department Amendment Act 2024 be read a first time.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill shortly entitled A Bill for Inland Revenue Department Amendment Act 2024 be read a first time. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. I call upon the clerk to read the bill a first time.
An act to amend the Inland Revenue Department Act to increase the waiver limit for penalties and interest that can be approved by the Controller of Inland Revenue.
Bill read a first time.
A bill for Allowances Temporary Reduction Amendment Act 2024, first reading.
The member is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that a bill shortly entitled A Bill for Allowances Temporary Reduction Amendment Act 2024 have its first reading.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second.
It has been moved and seconded that a bill shortly entitled A Bill for Allowances Temporary Reduction Amendment Act 2024 be read a first time. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. I call upon the clerk to read the bill a first time.
An act to amend the Allowances Temporary Reduction Act 2023, Act number 25 of 2023.
Bill read a first time.
Private members' bills? None. Private bills? None. Other orders of the day?
The Honorable Single Island Wide Electoral District Member, Mr. Kenneth Hodge, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and a pleasant good morning to my colleagues in this honorable House and to those listening via radio. Madam Speaker, I just wanted to rise this morning to extend my condolences on behalf of my family and myself to the family of the late Leroy Gums. Madam Speaker, he was a stalwart in the construction industry in Anguilla. We all know of his valuable work with the construction of part of the Lansing Bowl Cultural Center, the new terminal at Blowing Point, and the cargo facility. And indeed, Madam Speaker, he would have constructed many, many buildings across the length and breadth of this island, Madam Speaker. He was a giant of a man, literally. And he was always supportive of community events, very pleasant chap. I knew him, his family well, his son, Denroy, and Madam Speaker, from where I stand here this morning, I just want to extend to the family condolences. He'll be missed, but Madam Speaker, I think when we talk about leaving legacies behind, we will see many, many examples of his work through this island that will serve as lasting memories of what his contribution has been to the development of this island, Madam Speaker. I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. The honorable member for Valley South is recognized.
Good morning, Madam Speaker, and to members of the House. Of course, I think everybody would have had quite a shock this morning hearing about the passing of Leroy, and I believe that it has reverberated around the island and off our shores. I got a call this morning from someone who was hysterical, asking me whether or not what they heard was true. And you know, in Anguilla, when you get messages, you measure twice and cut once. But I was hoping that it would be a misunderstanding in this case. Unfortunately, that was not the reality. And I can tell you, by virtue of the massive crowd of people who gathered around his family this morning, that Leroy's impact was by virtue of his character and how he treated people. He was a gentle giant, very steadfast, very measured, but very bold in the way he set out to prove and execute his vision, not only for his company and his family, but also for Anguilla, for the Anguilla that he wanted to be a part of building. And he has, and if you speak to the persons who work for him, who said that they don't even see him as just a boss man, they see him as a second father. That was who Leroy was. It was more than just the roles. And to his family, to Sister Dots and his sons, this is an incredibly difficult moment for them. And I want to send out my condolences to them, to request that as a country we pray for them and we hold them up in prayer as they go through this very difficult period, and that we continue to recognize how his legacy has touched and impacted each one of our lives. Leroy was a man who, if I was feeling frantic about something, if I give him one call, he would calm me straight down. He had that effect on people, calming us down. And I will miss that dearly about him. I will miss that dearly. And so in this moment, I hope that we can continue to lift each other in prayer and recognize that we take life for granted very often. And like Madam Speaker said yesterday, why put off until tomorrow what you can do today? And I think we all have to take that with us in these moments where we're faced with loss. And so I want to wish my condolences to the entire Anguillan community on his loss, on the loss of his life. But also want to extend my condolences to the PS of Finance on the passing of her aunt, and to thank a lot of the patriots in Anguilla who continue to work very hard for Anguilla's future, irrespective of what personal challenges they are facing in their lives. And that is really the true hallmark of what it means to be Anguillian, what it means to lift up and love this country, and to put it above yourself. And in many of the persons who we've seen pass on from this life, we have recognized that very same value in them, that ability to look beyond themselves and to create something that is lasting. So, without wetting my face this morning, I'm going to end my contributions here. Thank you.
Thank you. The honorable member for Valley North is recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the loyal opposition, I wish to extend my condolences as well to Mr. Leroy Gum's entire family, his wife, and his children. Mr. Gums is an individual that I knew long before politics. We would have attended the same church together many years ago. And he was always an individual, Madam Speaker, who was very caring, loving, a very respected man in the community. He was also an individual who was a giver and would have contributed to many community activities that he would have had over the years. And all you had to do was pick up the phone and call and ask for some level of contribution, and he would always be willing to give and to say yes, and that speaks truly to the man he was. And when I got the news this morning, I couldn't help but think of a conversation that I had with one of his employees on Saturday at a community function. And the employee and I sat together, and he talked about how much he felt valued working with Mr. Gums. And he said Mr. Gums actively told him how much he was appreciated. He felt very comfortable. He felt that he had a great level of autonomy. He was trusted. And he would always say that there was nothing that he would ask of Mr. Gums that he wouldn't give to him. And to me, that really sums up the true measure of who Mr. Gums was. He was an individual who was beloved by his family, members of his community, but most importantly, the people who walked under his leadership. And that really speaks to him. He would have been an individual who, over the years, would have made quite a strong mark for himself in his career field. If you talk to anybody who has benefited from that construction, you would always hear wonderful reviews about him. And I think he certainly has left a legacy behind, a legacy that certainly is respected by the members of the opposition and our team by extension. He was very loved by us, and he supported us in ways that are too much to say. And we will miss him dearly. We thank him publicly for the contributions that he's made to us, but we also know that he understood that we valued him and we appreciated him as a person. And so I ask that his family remain comforted during this very difficult time, and know that he was very loved, appreciated, and admired. I'd also take this time to extend my condolences to the family of Desmond Paul, as they would have lost their mom this morning, Miss Olivia Paul. And so I also sympathize. We also sympathize with their families during this difficult time. As we know, Madam Speaker, it's always really difficult especially over the holidays, to lose persons that are close to you, because that's really usually a time when families gather together and remember all the goodness of the year. And so we ask that over this Christmas season, that as we celebrate and we gather with our families, we remember those who don't have the same opportunity to gather and spend quality time with their dearly departed family members. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. The honorable member for West End is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I too offer condolences to the families of Leroy Gums and also to the families of Olivia Paul. And I've said it before, this time of the year, although we look forward to the celebrations of Christmas, there are many families that it's an anniversary where they are grieving the loss. Doesn't matter how long it's been, the pain still seems to be very fresh. And for many families this year, I think with Leroy Gums especially, I think that you don't have to be family to have an effect. And I think that that's the case with Leroy Gums. But I didn't know him personally that well, but you don't have to know somebody to know that it contributed much to the development of Anguilla. So may his soul and may the soul of Olivia Paul rest in peace.
Thank you, honorable member. The honorable member, Single Island Wide Electoral District member, Mr. Joseph Vanterpool is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning, Madam Speaker, and good morning to all the members and those listening. I just rise in support of my colleagues in offering condolences to the passing of Mr. Leroy Gums. My heart and sympathy goes out to his family, as well as the passing on Miss Olivia Gums, as well as to the aunt of the PS Finance, Marissa. Madam Speaker, as we go into this holiday season, we have to hope that this would be one of the darker moments and that it's only up from here, and that we wouldn't be experiencing more pain and suffering at such a time where, you know, we usually look forward to joy, excitement, and coming together. My heart goes out to the families of all those who are grieving, and I'll continue to keep them in my prayers. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member. The honorable member for Road South is recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I don't think that death is something that any of us here in this honorable parliament has not experienced. We've all experienced the passing of loved ones. It was this month, 10 years ago, when you were sitting there on that bench, and I was about to continue my presentation on the 17th of December 2014, when we got the call that my brother had suddenly died at one of the projects that he was working at. And I think all of us can relate to persons that are very close to us that have passed. The Honorable Premier, as a schoolboy, his father suddenly died, leaving his mother, who was a homemaker, to take care of him and his siblings, many siblings, Madam Speaker. And so we have all experienced that. The member, single white member, it was the call some years ago that we heard that his uncle was tragically lost his life. And so we also mourn the loss of the honorable member for Road North. While a member of parliament, he too lost his mom. And so across the entire parliament, we've all lost loved ones. The Honorable Deputy Governor, Madam Speaker, as you know, we also mourn the loss of his younger brother, who tragically lost his life on the Jeremiah Gums Highway, Madam Speaker. So I say that to say we all understand loss and the pain that loss brings. And today, we also again offer our condolences to the family of the Permanent Secretary of Finance, Ms. Marissa Harden Hodge, and her family, who most likely some of them may have to travel to England to be with the family there, to join them in the burial of their aunt, sister, cousin, etc. Well, Madam Speaker, this morning I woke up to two bad pieces of news, Madam Speaker. Olivia Paul of South Hill, I know her very well, and yesterday we celebrated the 98th birthday of my Uncle Freddie, James Hughes. And Uncle Freddie, as a sailor and owner of a boat, he was the one who brought Saye Paul to Anguilla. In Saye Paul, together with Olivia, Father Julius Paul, Glenford Paul, Desmond Paul, Lisa Paul, Madam Speaker. No. And later on, Olivia Paul also gave birth to Kurt Paul, who lost his dad some time ago. So, Madam Speaker, the family of Olivia Paul and our family were very close. They lived on the hill, and we would play marbles, we would go fishing, we would dive conchs together, especially Glenn Paul and myself, because Glenn Paul, we commonly call him Super Captain. He was a voracious reader, Madam Speaker. Read extensively. We went to school together, primary school, the Road Primary School, and eventually the Valley Secondary School, and then the Albina Lake Arch Comprehensive School. So we know each other very well, and I know Olivia very well. Her father, Campbell. And so the families are very knitted because we all grew up in the very same community, in the same geographical area together with the Honorable Deputy Governor. Well, Madam Speaker, this morning, I don't even know how to put it in words, Madam Speaker, because this morning, it's a very strange morning because my phone was on silent, but eventually I got a call, and the person asked me if I was sitting down, and immediately if somebody asks you if you're sitting down, you know it's bad news. And I was like, no. I say, well, you need to sit down. And I was like, what happened? And they told me that Leroy Gomes had passed. And I was like, no, that's not possible. I spoke to him yesterday, and I spoke to him on Friday, and I spoke to him on Thursday. And that can't be possible. Let me call around. But before I called around, I opened my phone and I saw all of the messages. So I knew that it indeed was true. So I tried to reach out to some of his family, which I didn't, but I'll reach here. But Madam Speaker, I knew Leroy Gomes from a distance. I didn't know him intimately. But following his successful bid to construct the Blowing Point Ferry Terminal, I got to know Leroy very well, because every day I would go down to the site and I got to know the man and the measure of the man and the quality in which he worked and his family and the connections and the closeness of his family. And so we became very close, Madam Speaker, very, very close. And then, Madam Speaker, when the member for Valley South, the Honorable Deanne Kentish Rogers, was desirous of constructing the Lance and Bowl Cultural Center, and the company that had agreed to fund it was looking for contractors and sent out a call to contractors, Leroy put his hand up. And it was a very tight timeline, so much so that other contractors declined to put their hands up because they said it was too tight. And he took on the challenge, Madam Speaker. He took on the challenge, and he relished the challenge, and he delivered, Madam Speaker. And then he was successful again in two roads that lie in my constituency, and that is the Park Avenue Road, that is in Blowing Point, and the Patience Gums Road, commonly called Louis Price Road, that leads from South Hill to Blowing Point, Madam Speaker. And we would talk every day, because every day I would be down on those projects. And he keeps saying, because I'm always worried and pushing, he keeps saying, don't worry, you'll be happy. And I knew, based on his record, that I didn't have to worry. I'll be happy, Madam Speaker. So it came as a tremendous shock to hear this news this morning. But it's not only a loss to his family, it's a loss to Anguilla. It's really and truly a loss to Anguilla, because he was doing a good work, Madam Speaker. a good work in developing the infrastructure of this country, Madam Speaker, and his reputation as someone who ensured that everybody was taken care of and all the institutions were taken care of was stellar. But I know that his family will rally together, and I know that the good work that he started, that legacy will continue through his sons and his family, Madam Speaker, because they were very tightly knit. So on behalf of myself and my family and a grateful nation, I want to extend via this forum my deepest condolences to the family of Mr. Leroy Gomes. And again, I want to extend my condolences to the family of Olivia Paul and the Paul family in South Hill. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Member for Road North is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, like the member for Road South, I too received the messages this morning, which made it a very, very sad morning. So I just want to stand, Madam Speaker, to offer my condolences to the family of Olivia Paul, my schoolmate and good friend, Desmond Paul, and a special young man, Madam Speaker, her grandson, Kevin Paul Jr. I just want to publicly offer my condolences to that entire family, Madam Speaker. Like I said, Madam Speaker, the message I got was from my sister, and she asked me if I knew that Brother Leroy passed, and I will refer to him as Brother Leroy, Madam Speaker, because he attended the church that I grew up in, Madam Speaker. And that's where I know him most. Persons can speak of his great accolades in the construction field and his giving to the community, but I know him as a man of faith, Madam Speaker. A fond memory I have of him, Madam Speaker, is leading worship in the choir. I can publicly say he did not have the most melodious voice, Madam Speaker, but he sang so lustily, and he had this move, Madam Speaker, when he felt that the congregation wasn't involved enough in the song. I call it the last, so he would rile them up to get them going. And Madam Speaker, his faith was very strong, and I remember at the dedication of the Blowing Point Ferry Terminal, Madam Speaker, he gave his speech, and it was all based about faith, and you could feel, whether you a believer or not, you can feel how much this man believed in his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, Madam Speaker. And I know his family, very, very strong in their faith as well. His son is a pastor, his daughter is married to a pastor, Madam Speaker. So I know the family will rally. I know when I was going through my grieving process with my mom, my sister's faith is what kept us all together, Madam Speaker. So I know the faith of this family is very strong, and it will get them through, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, while I'm on my feet, I just want to offer condolences to the family of Nurse Eileen Thompson. She passed on the 4th of November, which was a while back. Nurse Eileen Thompson, she's known in the nursing fraternity in Anguilla, St. Kitts, and in the U.S., Madam Speaker. I know her personally. I call her Auntie Eileen. There's nothing stricter that was walking the face of this planet, Madam Speaker. And smiling, I have an inside joke with my niece here, Madam Speaker. But there's nothing as strict as her. And even in her when her health was failing, when she made a phone call and when she made a request, you heard that sternness and you had to jump and go. Her funeral service will be on Saturday, God's willing, Madam Speaker, and I just want to pray that the family have comfort. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Member for Sandy Hill is recognized.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. Good morning to members of this honorable House and members of the listening and viewing public. Madam Speaker, I too rise to extend deepest and heartfelt condolences to the families of Miss Olivia Paul, Mr. Leroy Gomes, and the aunt of the PS of Finance. In terms of Mr. Leroy Gomes, Madam Speaker, I remember having a few interactions with him well, and I found him and his wife to be honorable, upstanding persons based on my interactions and dealings with them. But also, Madam Speaker, I want to share just a brief story in terms of understanding the measure of the man. There was a young person who was seeking to build a house here in Anguilla, and the cost, of course, were being borne by that person and monies from the bank. That young person did not have the financial wherewithal to be able to build a house and hire a contractor in the way that ordinary people are able to. Mr. Gums, although he was busy with so many other projects, found the time to be able to send men to that young person's house to be able to assist. It wasn't done for profit. And so I would dare say it may well have been out of pocket, that type of assistance that he would have given to that young person. And there was nothing in it for him. It was simply because he knew the young person, he understood the needs of that young person, and the desire to build a home for themselves. And so I will always remember that. And it wasn't directly through him that that information came to me, but as a result, I had to take stock of the fact that here is a man who continued to contribute to Anguilla in many different ways, and in ways in which people may not have understood themselves. But he was not a man who had to go out there and publicly talk about all of the things that he did. But behind the scenes, he worked very hard assisting the people of Anguilla. And so I just want to share my thoughts, and I want to commiserate with the family. And we will all keep them in our thoughts and prayers, and not just the Gums family, but all those other persons who would have been mentioned today, including Nurse Eileen Tomlinson. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Single Island Wide Electoral District Member, Mrs. Quincy Gums-Marie, is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Pleasant morning to you and members of the Assembly, listening public, radio, and streaming services. Madam Speaker, I rise to join my colleagues in wishing condolences to the family of P.S. Hardin Hodge, the Thompson family, and the Paul family. Understanding that losing a family at this time is exceptionally difficult because, on one hand, it is Christmas celebration and everyone else around you is celebrating. And you too might feel a need to celebrate because life has its nuances. But on the other hand, balancing the incredible difficulty of death. As it relates to the sudden passing of Mr. Leroy Gums, I can't help but think of the words of the late Dora Bryan, "We are out to build a new Anguilla," ironically sung to the tune of that battle hymn of old, "My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord." Madam Speaker, I got to know Mr. Leroy Gums in the same way a few members on this side might have gotten to know him, is through his incredible work at the Blowing Point Ferry Terminal facility. And that was the beginning of a very beautiful story of what it looks like when you take pride in your work. Because he didn't just build a building, he understood that this building would form part of his legacy. Though I am sure he would have anticipated many more years of continuing to build great things, he built himself a strong and reputable personality, where persons for time and time again would speak of the great work that he would produce. His gift to Anguilla was a stone wall feature that was not in the original drawing, that he hid from everyone as best as he could, because he understood that when people look at this, they will see Anguilla first. But those who know the story will remember the hard work that he did to make it happen in the time that he did. And from there, it was building after building after building. But there was some consistent stories in the representations Mr. Gums made. It was obvious that he was a family man who loved his family, who spoke very much about continuity and succession, and bringing on the members of his family to understand all parts of his work, who often handed the mic to his son and just said, he is the one who would speak for me. We understand that that is a measure of a man who not only built his family, built buildings, but trusts what he built, trusts who he built, and trusts who he built it with. He often spoke fondly of his wife and very, very highly of his faith in God. And as much as this is a difficult thing to accept, those of us who believe, those of us who are Christians, know that while we are mourning, Leroy is very likely to be rejoicing. And so I rest in that knowledge that his eyes are seeing the glory of his Savior. And I wish the most heartfelt condolences to his family, because as much as I am very sure that they will lean on their very firm faith, I understand that life has nuances, and this is also a very sad occasion for them, for the community, for us. May his soul rest in peace, and may we continue to do our part in building a new Anguilla. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Member for Island Harbor is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was, thinking about the other orders of the day since yesterday, and I was going to stand here and talk about Island Harbor winning the Best Village competition from the Anguilla Enhancement project, and wanted to congratulate Sandy Hill for winning Best Debut Village for a new entry to the AEP competition, and West End, the most sustainable, and South Hill also won an award. And Shoal Bay did get one, that's right, that's true. Island Harbor also won Best Marine Village for the, which I think is appropriate. And I wanted to also stand here and congratulate Uncle Freddie Hughes for 98 years, and today come and surprise the Deputy Governor on his birthday today, wishing him a happy birthday. But it's been a sad day, Madam Speaker. Pastor Hugo Victor Brooks, our chaplain, he was recently hospitalized. I know he's at home now recovering. Want to wish him speedy recovery and God's blessings. But the news of the passing of Leroy Gums from Leeward's Construction, that one hit me real hard this morning when I got the news. Because, like others said, I didn't know him that well until he was working down at the Blowing Point Ferry Terminal. And Madam Speaker, when the drawings came out and the renderings were done for that project, basically they said nobody in Anguilla could make it look like that. And I can say that he exceeded expectations with that, so that around the world people are looking at the Blowing Point Ferry Terminal and saying, that is a beautiful edifice. And when people see those pictures, they said, oh, so that's what the airport terminal is going to look like. And we say, no. But then he did the cargo building. And they said, oh, that's the terminal that we're going to have. And people say, no, that's just the cargo building. But he put so much into his work, and you can see it manifest. And I remember whenever I would go by the Lansom Bowl Cultural Center, not as much as some of my other colleagues have, but every time I showed up there, even if he was not there, he came to, to explain what was happening, how it was going. And we got to say that They did a great job down there. So he left his mark. And he left that not only in the buildings, but also in people's heart, because they saw his dedication, his commitment, his striving for excellence always in what he was doing. And that's what struck me about Mr. Leroy Gums. So I certainly want to wish heartfelt condolences to his family. I spoke to his brother this morning. I reached out for his son. But we certainly want to go over and see the family and, just to let them know how much we appreciate him doing the work that he did, but also being the man that he was. And certainly, we were in England with the Permanent Secretary of Finance, Marissa Harding Hodge, when her aunt passed. And we wish her and her family heartfelt condolences in that regard. And certainly, this is a sad day. Miss Olivia Paul and Super Captain, it's always good to hear Super Captain and listen to him when he speaks, because he speaks from a wealth of knowledge that he understands, many different topics, and it's certainly good. I wish the whole family heartfelt condolences. So, there are a lot of us right now who are sad in Island Harbor. We are still trying to recover from the loss of Otis Smith and Miss Winifred Smith and others who have passed recently. And their loss will make our Christmas season one where we continue to reflect on the loss of loved ones. But we have to remember the reason for the season, and God will get us through. And that's what I want to say to all Anguillians in every district and every village here and abroad, that God is there for us when we need the comfort, when we need his blessings, and we have to continue to trust him that he will get us through all these times, because he'll never give us more than we can bear. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. And so, indeed, on behalf of the staff here at the Assembly, and indeed on my own behalf, we extend condolences to all families mentioned this morning. I have to join with members and spell out those two prominent Anguillians, Mistress Olivia Paul, whom I worked with at the Mariners Hotel many years ago. She was the chef. Well, she was much more advanced than I was, but she was a very kind lady. And because of her, I had come to know all of her children. I specifically know Super Captain because of the boat races, and he told us a story of how his mom loved to read, especially romance silhouettes. And in doing so, he became a reading fanatic. And he would read all of her silhouettes. And he said he would read down to the very Clorox bottle. Anything he caught, he would read. And indeed, he's a great reader. You can hear that in his vocabulary now when he speaks. So I want to offer my condolences to him and his family, and also to the family of Leroy Gums. I know his wife Dots personally and her family, and I just, I guess words are not enough at these times, but indeed we wish them God's guidance and his comfort in this difficult time. Thank you. Okay. We move for adjournment. Oh, at the same time, of course, from this platform, I wish to ask your prayers for our chaplain. at this time who is very ill, and we wish him God's mercies as he recovers, a speedy recovery to him. Thank you.
Adjournment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that this honorable House be adjourned until Wednesday, 11th December at 9 a.m.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second.
Remember, you make it sound like it's really far away. It has been moved and seconded that this honorable House now stands adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, December 11th at 9 a.m. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. This honorable House now stands adjourned until tomorrow, Wednesday, December 11th at 9 a.m. Thank you all. Have a great day.